Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Things in My Head podcast. My name is Jenny.
And I'm Cecile.
And we're Things in My Head podcast. You can follow us at Things in My Head podcast on Instagram. Our Gmail is also thingsinmyheadpodcast@gmail.com. And then you can follow Cecile at Sweet and Petite Duo on Instagram as well. And of course, we are and have been working, and you started Brooks Boutique. So that is brooksboutique.com if you want to shop our online website.
Yes, please do.
Or you can follow us on Facebook at Brooks Boutique Pearland. That's our Facebook group. And
Instagram.
Love Brooks Boutique and Love Brooks Boutique on TikTok and Instagram. So those are all our handles.
Yeah. So we are a luxury consignment boutique if you don't know us. And if you do, thank you for supporting us. We are 13 years old in October, which is crazy for a small business. And then, of course, I also do real estate with Brooke, who we named it after. So we are Houston Realtors, and I can help you there as well. So anywee, hi, guys. What episode is this?
Episode 11.
Jen, I laugh because Jen is so funny. We talk about what episodes we're going to talk about, the topic. And the last one we just did was about therapy. And then this one we are doing around divorced parents and blended families. And Jen goes, wow, everything's so positive. And I was like, wait, it doesn't have to be not. It could be positive, actually, if you don't think your parents should have stayed together. So, and everybody was hilarious the way she said that. I was like, yeah, I know. We're bringing everybody down. But I think we're trying to pick topics that are relevant, that not always have what do you call it? Like places you could talk about that I think people connect to, because it's not like, and you might, but it's not like I'm like, hey guys, my friends, let's all get together and let's talk about our parents being divorced. So I thought this would be a good place to do it. And I love that when Jen or Lauren, we have other of the ladies come, is they come for our ladies who are around my age. They are obviously in their 20s, and sometimes we don't know if we have children that age, friends that age, are that age, like what that perspective is. And of course it's their own personal perspective, but I always think that's interesting. So as a history or as a background, my parents were together, until they both passed. So I grew up in a household of one set of parents. And probably, and again, for those that don't know, I'm 49 years old. So growing up, most of my friends were still, their parents were married. And because I'm Filipino, I don't think I knew anyone in our Filipino community, and I grew up here in the States, here in Houston, that really had divorced parents, so even in the generation, and then culturally, it was not as prominent as it is now, or maybe just who we hung out with. But then, of course, now, now it's pretty common. I mean, Andy, when I married him, had already had a divorce. I'm his second wife. So I think it's definitely more prominent now.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I guess it's more cultural or more acceptable.
Because your parents are divorced, but they divorced later in your life, not little, right? Because for a reference, so you know where we're coming from. When I met Andy, he was divorced by a few years already, and Lauren was 7 and Rachel was 4. So they had been married. They had been divorced a couple years, so they were babies. Like Rachel, I don't even believe remembers her parents together, and of course Lauren does. So you were a teenager, right?
Yeah, I was already like 18 years old when my parents got divorced.
Okay, divorced. I made her nervous. This topic is making her nervous.
Divorced.
Okay, so kind of wanted to talk through, like, because here's the conversation we had beforehand. I said, when we were joking and saying, is it positive or not? I said, well, is it positive? Because as the child, and she was great to say that, I don't know, she doesn't know what her mom's thought was, and you'd have to ask her. She only knows her perspective, is because I asked her the question, I don't know, was it positive that your parents divorced? Do you think they're happier? And do you think they stayed together? And her question was, well, I think they did stay together for us, which is why I was already 18, but I don't know if that made them happy. Like that, right?
Yeah,
that was the conversation.
That's what I feel like. That's the, is it better that you got it when you're younger, so that way you see your parents, they're not settling, they're looking for love, they're looking for a partner like that? Or is it better to just stay together as a unit, more so for financial reasons, to raise everybody under one household? Is that better?
Yeah.
Because my parents really gave us everything that we wanted or needed. They gave us a great upbringing. They were super supportive of like any little like sport that you wanted to do or creative thing. They were like very positive with that. And I know it definitely, obviously being a team financially helps you like have a good household, have everything that you and the kids need. So
can I ask just a little reference point? Are you the youngest in your family?
I am the youngest.
And so you have two older brothers and it's you, and they divorced when you turned 18.
Yeah.
Is that right? And did you know, can I ask that question? And don't answer anything you're not comfortable with, but were you surprised when they got divorced?
I was surprised. I think that it did catch me by surprise because honestly, I thought that's how relationships were. Like my parents I didn't really ever see them really go on that many like dates or be like super affectionate with each other. Granted, they worked a lot. My mom worked a full-time job and so did my dad. And he worked at a car dealership for a long time. So that's like Saturdays, Sundays, you have to be there. Like it's a lot of like moving and hustling and selling. So I think that he was just very tired, so we didn't see him a lot. But when he was there, he was like super present and about it. But I think that I thought that was normal until my parents got a divorce, and I kind of stepped back and I looked at their relationship and I kind of realized maybe that's not normal. And I think the way that the divorce was, I don't know if I should, my dad cheated on my mom.
Okay.
And so I think that shocked me, and my brothers were and my mom, I think. I think that maybe they didn't have like the most loving relationship, but I think, and I don't want to put words in her mouth because obviously I'm not her, but
right.
maybe a perspective that she might have was that, right now we're busy with kids and financially getting everything together. Maybe that when they were older, they would rekindle what they must have had before.
Right.
Because they did get married and, they must have been good times for all of that to happen. So maybe she had that thought process. I don't know. I don't ask her too much about it because I think that it was very shocking, and she went to her own therapy and kind of dealt with it on her own. So if she doesn't really want to like talk to me about it, sometimes we talk about it, but I go as deep as she wants to go.
Do you ever talk with your mom, and I doing this on the other end as an adult daughter, that in reference to any guidance that she might have or observations with you and your dating, just knowing that maybe what is the childhood that you went through?
Does she have like comments about it?
Not comments, but do you feel like, because I'm thinking if I was your mama, I would be worried. We're going to damage our kid one way or the other. What is the way we do it, So it'd be like, oh, baby, why don't, just because dad and I divorced doesn't mean that you should be scared of dating somebody, you know what I mean?
Oh, no, actually, I don't think that I'm a pretty headstrong person.
Facts.
So I don't think she's like super worried about that. But she's definitely very cautious. She's like, pick somebody that is going to really have your back and make sure that you don't put like love in your relationship on the back burner, even though you feel like other things are more important. That is like a very important thing. So she's like, it's easy to let that part of a relationship go and die, and that's kind of what happened to her. So I think that she's more cautious about that and has a little bit more wisdom about that.
So growing up, since you were 18 and your brothers were older, growing up, you didn't know any better or didn't think that your parents were not happy?
Yeah,
okay.
Basically. They did a really great job of keeping that side of them to themselves. I think looking back as an adult now I can see it.
Oh, you
because
can.
When you're a kid,
like, I'm just curious.
I just see that. I think I see, my mom was tired, she was exhausted and overexerted, I think. So I think I see that now, that she really sacrificed a lot for us, and that she did a lot of things that didn't make her happy but made everyone else happy. So she just kind of did that. And she took care of a lot of, because my grandma lived with us.
Right.
And she had dementia. So she had it for a very long time. So it was very, very stressful. I helped her out as much as I could, of course. But I was a 15-year-old. So obviously I'm not like the best. I can wake up, get her ready for the day, get her breakfast dinner. But, the emotional aspect of like, that's a very difficult disease to live with. And I think that I was more like, I don't know. I should have cued in, I think, sometimes.
You can't. Yeah. I mean, you're 15, just trying to, 15 is so hard to even like know what you're doing. So don't blame yourself. But thinking back now, do you wish your parent, like you're about a decade past this now. So do you think, like, sometimes you think, I wish my parents were still together?
No. I honestly think that they are happier. And I'm glad that maybe my mom has a second chance. Like, she hasn't given up. Oh. She's still out there.
What's her Tinder handle?
I know, right? She's not on Tinder, but she does. Like, when they got the divorce, I saw my mom kind of blossom into her own human.
Okay.
She really started, I think she did the therapy. She didn't tell me about that part, but she also started hanging out with her friends from high school a lot. She's like, I saw her like doing a lot of things on her own, spending time with friends, like going out and doing things, little trips and stuff like that. So, and she's just doing this all like so independently.
Yeah.
So I think that
she got stronger, you felt like.
Yeah, I think that it strengthened her, and I think she got in tune with herself versus like being entrenched in everybody else's like lives and things. But especially because she took care of my grandma a lot. So that I think that it all kind of, unfortunately, it all happened very like, it was like a domino effect.
Right, like around the same. She went from taking care of the family because they were still in the house and making sure that she was still married, and taking care of her mom who had dementia, which is hard, to all of a sudden she's not married.
There's no
Your grandma passed, the kids are out. That is
change. Very, I think, like, it gives me chills to think about that time period, because it was a lot of change that I think sometimes I didn't even process all of the things that were going on. But that would probably be a life shape. That's like a life shaper right there.
Yeah,
it was,
for sure.
It was just like, it was kind of one thing after another. I think it was.
So how do you think the divorce, your parents divorcing or not being together, how do you think that has played into who you are right now as a almost 29-year-old?
Yeah, I think that I'm more aware of, sometimes maybe I'm not somebody, I think that it's more important for me not to settle.
Oh, thank
or if
you.
I feel
Don't
like
settle. I want to teach this to every girl.
I feel like it's made me a little bit more like, I don't want to, because, maybe I don't want to say that that's what my parents did, but it can happen, and then you're in something that that's not for long term, because obviously when you marry somebody, you want to, stay with them until you die. And I think that that's the thing that also...
I thought you were saying stay with them until they die.
I'll keep living. I see myself,
you go first.
I see myself living a very long time.
Amen.
You know what really I think shocked me the most is that, you spend 20 years, 30 years of marriage, and in a year you're divorced, and you had a retirement planned, and then you're back. Like, that's the part that is always like, I think that's where my fear of commitment goes, because
you don't want to start over. The fear of starting over because you saw your mom start over.
It could be like a year, or it could be 30 years, and you could still be at that starting point all over again.
I hate to say it on the negative side, but that could be the same exact scenario you're in the most loving relationship. Not to say don't be in a loving relationship, but because you end up being widowed.
True.
It's not just a divorce, so you can't keep you from it.
I guess that is true, but I feel like, I don't know, both things are very difficult
because what we talked about outside of this is it could go both ways. You could be so scared to end up divorced that you never give anyone a chance, or you're overly critical, like you've kind of talked about. Sometimes you wonder, Or you're in something, but because you've seen what it was to be in a divorced family as a child, you will stay in a relationship way farther than you ever needed to because you don't think you want to do that, especially if you have kids.
Yeah.
And like you stay in it just because, darn it, I'm not going to have a divorced family like I was in.
Yeah.
And even though that's not healthy.
Yeah.
Neither is healthy.
Yeah, neither is healthy. So it's kind of hard to. It's like a very fine line where you're in that health balance, because
That's hard.
It's
It
easy
is, 'cause
to
you don't
kind of
always know.
teeter. There's like both ends are not good, so you kind of have to be in the middle about it. But it's kind of hard. The lines are very blurred,
Yeah.
So I think it's very hard, and I think that's why therapy would be good for everybody. Because
we could go on a whole different topic
Yeah.
because of that. But okay. So I always wondered, I wish Lauren was here. I know I think about the girl because Lauren, we talked a little bit when we talked last week about you guys' dating and how that her parents, Andy and her mom Tiffany, divorced when she was young and how that affected her and her sister, I think, very differently. I want to speak for them. Just looking on the outside, I can see definitely where it affected them in different ways. So we might have to come back to that conversation with Lauren, specifically because you two, again, have great connection around that. I mean, and I say that in all due respect because growing up, you didn't have the challenge, I think, of the blended family portion. You had the divorced parents, but you were all adults already. And so when on our end, like I said, Lauren and Rachel were 4 and 7, and by the time that we had Brooke, Andy and I had Brooke, Lauren was 10. So there's 10 years difference between Brooke and Lauren. And then, of course, we had Mark. And so we are very honest. We've come a long way for those that don't know us. Like, obviously, Lauren and I work very closely together. But there was times, like there was a good decade that we were not close. They chose to spend more time with their mom, and I could understand. And, I'm sure we've talked about this. They felt like the 4 that me, Andy, Brooke, and Mark were, they felt outside of that, because it's obviously very realistic to make it feel like happen when you're the kids in and out of that. And so much more, right? That's a whole different topic of itself. But I think that has shaped really how, when I look at all the kids, that my kids, Lauren, Rachel, Brooke, and Mark. Mark, not so much because he just doesn't talk to many people. He don't talk to girls. He don't have Instagram. But I mean, with the girls, and that's why I'm so scared, like truly just seeing it in this generation that regardless, even with Brooke, even though Andy and I are together, is, do you choose right? Because and it's so hard when the divorce rate is so high and gets higher. And you're in a state in the society where you're meeting people that you're off of apps and whatever, that you don't know you don't have a historical connection with them. It's not like you went to school or your cousin's cousin and whatever, that you're meeting randomly, and then that you meet the right person. Like I always say, the biggest decision and most important decision you can make in life is not your job, not your degree, not where you live, nothing except who do you pick for your partner, because that will tell you what type of life you will have. Are you happy? Are you sad? Do you like being home? Are you stressed out? Are you, are anxious all the time? Are you work, because that's what you choose. And so anyway, I don't know where I got on that tangent, except that is my biggest fear, is that all my kids and you guys that I love pick, hopefully, the right choice in the beginning, because I've seen, as we know, not to say that, anyone goes in thinking that it's not going to work out, but just to be so extra careful, because it really does come with a lot more especially if there's children involved, know?
There's just, it's a huge decision, because you're going to be making all of your like big financial purchases with this person, not to mention like if you bring children into it, and then you also have the added risk of like your whole, if you're all friends with the same people, does your whole outside circle also crumble as well?
Yeah.
So like community wise, do you have all of his friends, or do you have your own friends? Are your friends separated for that very reason, to kind of give a buffer and a boundary, or is everything mixed in together?
Yeah.
And there's just like I don't think there's any perfect way to do it, but you
There's
can
not.
try.
I mean, definitely there's not. But if I will say this, let me tell you what I think is the biggest challenge when you're in the dating world and you actually like somebody and you like them because you want love, you want to be loved. And so what happens is a lot of times I see girls put on blinders because I'm always like, you have to, I read this book, I forgot what it's called. I think it's called Beating 50%, actually. And, 50% being the divorce rate. And it was one of the things they really talked about is that for the people that love you and you're introducing your partner to, and if they have concerns and they bring it up to you, to listen and not like just shove them away or think that they're crazy or no, because if it's the people who love you and only want the best for you, those red flags are the red flags you don't see because you're so blinded by I love him.
Yeah. I think it's hard to like also pull yourself out when you're like so invested in a person. Like, if you really like somebody, then it's hard to kind of pull yourself out and be like, and see those red flags immediately because you love them. And so you'll put up with their red flags because there's like a little bit of love to it.
Well, and there's a difference between red flag and annoyances, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's no like, sometimes Andy breathes and I'm like, what the? Could you stop doing that? Stop breathing. But that's different versus like when you're getting to know someone and your friends are like, this is kind of odd, not like it, but they're true. Anyway, I always say that because I'm like, if people would just listen. Also, I'm going to go out on my soapbox and say parents are typically not wrong.
Oh, okay.
I mean, would that be fair? And I say that because really parents really can see it and they know you and they're typically not wrong no matter how much you don't want to admit it. There, I said it.
That is, I guess, I would take my mom's word for it if she said like, hey, Jen, I don't know. But she's trusted my judgment, like, except for like one boyfriend.
She didn't trust your judgment or you didn't listen to her?
One boyfriend, she was like, most like every single boyfriend that I've had, she's been like, I like him. I'm fully offended that I don't know of any of these boyfriends, side note, but go ahead. I like dated them all while I worked here.
I was like, I've known you for 9 years. I've never heard of a boyfriend, but okay.
Hey, I'm dating. I'm just not talking about it at work. But I told him that the next time you come pick me up, my mom really needs to meet you because like she's not going to let us go out. If it was back when I was living with her, I was like younger. Yeah. I was like, I think honestly there was a couple red flags when I met the guy, to be honest. It was the weirdest thing. I was in a college class. We had to it was like a digital art class, and I didn't print out my piece that was supposed to go in a little art show. Mm-hmm. And it was graded, and obviously it's a big deal that you have to get it put up in the art show. It was at HEC.
I'm making note here. You have such detail. I know you're still traumatized by this experience.
But I had to go to she was like, okay, you can drop it off, but you can't drop it off at your normal class. You're going to have to drop it off at this other class that was at a later time.
Fate.
Yeah. So I go into the class. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to like give her the piece so that, it's all ready to go. It's like all matted up. It's like boarded up. It's ready to be hung. It's got my name and everything on it. And I was like, I'm just going to go drop it off. But this teacher was actually one of my best teachers. I really did love her. Oh my God,
did you date the teacher? No, I'm kidding. Is this where this is going?
She's a woman. She was a very old little lady, but
not wrong with that.
She was a very good.
It was the TA. Okay, sorry.
She was a good art teacher, and she was like, she really did encourage me to study art. She really sparked that like passion for me, and she made me do an impromptu presentation to the class.
And you impressed him so much. This is true. I was just making.
No, I'm not kidding. It was kind of a crazy movie moment. But so I did the little presentation that I was very like nervous about.
Yeah.
I drop it off. I'm walking out of the class. I'm like, okay, that was cool. He runs after me.
This is a rom-com.
Yeah. That's how I felt. I felt like I was in a rom-com.
Except it's a red flag, so never go with this.
If this happens in real life, maybe. maybe he has a little impulse, you know?
Yes.
So he ran after me. I thought, oh, he's running after me. Maybe I forgot to sign something. You know, you got to sign like little papers to like put things up in like little shows. So I thought maybe I had forgotten to do a step and he was coming to get me because the teacher was older and she wasn't going to run after me. So she wasn't going to run after me. And he was like, you just impressed me so much. You're so beautiful. And I have to have your number. Like, I just have to shoot my shot.
I hate him already.
Yeah. So,
red flag.
So I gave it to him because how many times does that happen to you in life?
Now we know why.
But he ended up just not having the best impulse control, I guess. And so I didn't really like that, but I continued to date him because it was summer. Like, what was I doing?
But that is a great point. I know we've completely come off the topic of divorced parents, but it's a great point because when do you know when it's sweet and romantic and when it's like the first red flag? And yes, you really don't.
I obviously got swept up in the moment. I was like, whoa, this is amazing.
Whoa,
he really likes me.
I met him.
I met the one, y'all. Like, he ran after me.
I cannot wait to tell this story.
Yeah. I was like telling all my friends, was like, it's crazy. They're like, oh, so he's texted you back. And I was like, no, he didn't text me back. For like 3 days, he didn't text me. And I was like, that should have been red flag number 2. But we ended up, I told him that
was he a narcissist?
I don't know.
I just don't want to label people.
I didn't date him for very long, maybe like 2 or 3 months. But it was a deal breaker when I told him that he was going to meet my mom. And I was like, it's really important that you make a very good impression on her. And she's real easy to impress. Yeah. So the bar is low. She's not very judgmental at all.
What did he do?
But he just showed up looking very bummy.
Is that how he normally looked, though?
Not all the time. But he was just like not... You know, that you didn't have to like be super dressed up.
But you should be respectful.
Yeah.
Like you cared.
A little, you know, like.
Yeah. Like you're meeting your girlfriend's mom.
Yeah. So that was like a deal breaker. When I saw my mom's face kind of drop, I was like, you know what? I'm kind of seeing it all. It kind of like all made sense.
Well, because a lot of girls / my daughters will be like, let it go. They don't care what I think. But I'm like, all right, I have not been wrong it was just yet.
Like, I think that I let a lot of things slide. But when it came to like disrespecting somebody that I love, even if it was a very slight disrespect, I think it was a deal breaker for me.
I'm going to need you to have some one-on-ones with my daughters and just say just that.
She is...
Yeah. They hate you. I love Jen so much.
Oh my God.
She's raised right. Even though I'm the one that raised the other.
I'm going to show that to my mom. She's going to be laughing, I think. Because she's like a very laid back person. Yeah. So I think it's funny because she's so laid back. I might be a little bit more high strung than she is.
And I think you're laid back.
Oh, really?
You think you're high strung?
Sometimes.
Have you met in comparison to me?
I think maybe I guess with my friends, there's more laid back than me. So I'm like the high strung one.
Wow.
In most of my group scenarios, I feel like I'm the one that's like, okay.
Well, you definitely like get things done. Don't get me wrong. When I think high strung, I think like crazy, like calm down. Take a breather.
I think I get there. I just don't let you see me get there.
That's
I think
probably
my friends
true.
see me there because I don't really, like with them, I don't really care.
Yeah.
But with people that I work, obviously I want you to see me in the best light because I work with you. So
girl, we're 9 years in this. Yeah. You can let your guard down.
I know, I'm trying to still, you know.
I'll still love you.
Keep the
mystery alive. So funny. Oh my God, I don't know where time flies. We're at 30 minutes, so I know we try to keep it under. But this was so good. Like I told you, what we start talking about and where we end talking about. Yeah. It's 2 different things. If Jen is willing to tell me anything about her life, I will dig. But this was good. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If anything, I really do hope you get to enjoy us on a different level. Mainly the girls, because I feel like you know everything about me. But I really love hearing a different perspective when we talk about life. I mean, because people don't know, you don't always get the chance to talk about this stuff. So anyway, thank you for watching. Don't forget our Instagram handles, Things in My Head Podcasts, Love Brooks Boutique, and Sweet and Petite Duo. Shop our boutique at brooksboutique.com or consign with us. But truly, this only purpose of these podcasts is to have a place for us to chat and talk about things we don't have time to talk about on our Facebook Lives on the boutique. That's where this started from. And I'm really having fun. We're open to topics. I really, really, really want to know if you like the topics we're talking about. And or what are specific questions that you want us to kind of delve into. And the other thing would be, is there anyone from the boutique or in our life that you know, that you hear us talk about, that you want us to bring on to be someone that we talk to? Yeah. So I know we've had Lauren on, but of course we have Soraya, we have Brooke, that might be scary. And we have, whoever that we would love to have on, and you guys, like, we can ask them whatever you want us to ask them. Yeah. So anyway, is that it, Jen?
That is it. Thank you guys for watching.
And let us know what you think. Bye.